My name is Dana Margaritas. I'm the acting manager of building permits. I'd like to introduce you to the presenters. Today we have Stacy Rainwater. She's a supervising building permit specialist over the Pine Work Group. Carla Palma. She is associate engineer specializing in our engineering work group. Tarek Shalon. He's an assistant manager of plans exam. He manages the commercial and residential building plans examiners. Katie Bradley, she's a building permit specialist in our permit issuance work group. Matt Brewer is the manager of inspections. He manages our inspections team. Ava Arroyo, she's a management assistant, and she helps the management with various duties and is helping us with this live workshop today. We have Maria Paseco. She is the assistant planning manager. She manages the zoning plan check work group. We have Troy Wilson. He's a building permit specialist specializing in fee workup. And we have Selena Sadif. She's another management assistant who also assists management with various duties and has helped us with this workshop today. Revisions, additional scope, and supplementals. Revisions versus revisions, additional scope of work. Revisions are submitted after building permit is issued and are used when changes need to be made to the approved plans. Revisions additional scope are also submitted after issuance, but include small additions to the approved plans, such as adding square footage, height, or valuation. Revisions and revisions additional scope cannot change the scope of work on a permit. For example, if your permit is for an addition, a revision or revision additional scope cannot be submitted to convert the addition into an accessory living quarters or an accessory dwelling unit. Changes to the original scope of work will need to be submitted as a supplemental permit. If the changes are significant, a replacement permit may be required. Revisions additional scope are meant to add square footage or valuation in its simplest form. Our permitting software is designed to add the new square footage to the original square footage, so the certificate of occupancy or the certificate of completion has the correct square footage once the final inspection was approved. Revisions additional scope can be used for increasing the square footage of patio covers, adding a patio cover to an addition permit, or increasing the height of the patio cover. Small increases to square footage of buildings, increases to the footprint could prompt grading, soils report, and or structural requirements, which could change the application type used or require a supplemental permit if grading was not previously required for the original permit. So this situation may be one you'd want to check on. It can also be used to increase the height of buildings, but not adding additional stories. Revisions additional scope can be used to add new interior rooms or move walls on interior remodel repair permits. For example, changing a closet to a bathroom will add valuation to the project. If the interior revision changes occupancy classifications, then the permit may need to be reprinted and the revision will be flagged by plans exam. If you want to add mechanical, electrical, or plumbing work to new buildings, additions, or remodel repair permits, that increases the valuation, so it's also a revision additional scope, as long as the subtrade was included in the original scope of work of the permit. Revisions additional scope cannot be used to increase or change the scope, height, valuation, or add models to standard plan projects, and those are the 4353 numbers. Some application types cannot be processed as a revision additional scope, and supplemental permits will be required. For example, the following: increasing the size, depth, decking, or adding a spa to a pool permit. Increasing the scope of signs such as square footage, number of signs, or adding electrical to the signs. Increasing the linear feet, height, or material of a fence permit. Increasing the cut and fill of a grading permit or adding area to the grading permit. Increasing the scope of a solar permit by more than 2 kilowatts. If the added 2 kilowatts is under 2, then it can be processed as a revision additional scope. Other changes that will require a supplemental permit include adding livable square footage to a remodel repair permit, adding a detached patio when the original permit is for an attached patio or vice versa, Adding anything that is outside the scope of the original permit or requires a separate permit, such as adding a fence or a wall to a single-family residential permit. Increasing the stories on a building or a home. And then reducing the scope of work for all permit types will require a supplemental permit. Supplemental permits that are related to a permit cannot be reviewed and approved as a revision. Supplemental permits are submitted through the Citizens Access Portal like all other building permits and will receive a new building permit number. Supplemental permits must include the original building permit number and the scope of work. Example, supplemental 2 BDXX to add linear footage to the block wall. This assists with assigning these supplemental permits to the original plan reviewer, and it also links this supplemental permit to your original building permit. If you need assistance with submitting for building permits, please see our Basics of Electronic Permitting workshop on our YouTube channel, or you can email plan submittal at eplansubmittal@clarkcountynv.gov. And now we're going to talk about revision submittal. So I'm going to introduce you to Stacy.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I just want to point out that whenever you're ready to apply for your revision or revision additional scope, you want to make sure that your permit is in the permit issued status. So you're not going to be able to submit a revision while it's in review, obviously. So just make sure that it's in the right status, okay? When you're ready, you're going to search out that permit number through your Citizen Access Portal, and this can be done under the record info or to the right of the permit number listed in the search bar. You'll click that amendment, that create amendment button. It's important to note that the revisions and revisions additional scope bypass the plan submittal work group. So you want to make sure that you enter all your data correctly and make sure to select the appropriate plan review disciplines to make sure that everyone who sees it does get to see it. So if you're not sure about who needs to review the revision, when in doubt, I would select yes to everything. For sure, you want to select yes on zoning. But again, if you're not sure, just reach out to, either your original plan reviewer or even we can help you out. But you just want to make sure that you err on the side of caution to make sure that you're not going to delay yourself by accidentally forgetting to select, a description of review. So here is a copy of the application form and the checklist that you're going to want to submit whenever you're applying for a revision or revision additional scope. The more information, the better, of course, right? So you want to be as descriptive as possible. There's also some links here on this screen to those forms. All the forms can be found on our website under the plan submittal section. It's broken down by how-to guides, application forms. So if you need assistance finding those, you can reach out to us, or you can just, make your way around the website. Just one thing to note too, only the original person who's listed as a contact will be able to submit the revision. So if you're a contractor and your architect or whoever did your plans is not listed as a contact, they're not going to be able to submit the revision for you. So you want to just make sure, that you're a contact before you try to submit, or you might run into some problems. Another consideration for revisions is that any RFI or NCR or deferred submittal should be include a short description. So under each, you can see there. So like for the RFI, we want to see the number and along with the short description. If you're submitting an alternate method with the building permit application, it's going to be listed or issued rather as a -A. And then if you are submitting after the permit's issued, it's going to operate kind of like a revision and it'll be issued with a -R. So if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to your plans examiner, or of course, somebody here at Submittal will be able to help you out. So kind of like we talked about before, a couple of things to remember when you're submitting for a revision is that it's really critical to select all the appropriate workflows, right? So again, you want to make sure you select zoning. And if you're not sure, reach out to us and we'll make sure if nobody's available, err on the side of caution and pick them all. If the revision additional scope of work is too large, which would be like a redesign, or like Dana's mentioned, it can't change the original scope of the permit, right? So a replacement permit might be required. If you're not sure, it's best to ask for a pre-submittal meeting and we'll do our best to get you, a meeting fairly soon, so you're not waiting forever. But sometimes, what you think might be just a simple revision really isn't so simple. So revisions that are in review, which are not approved yet or issued, is going to stop your inspections from being scheduled. So if you know that you need to do like a real quick framing or something, you might want to schedule that inspection first and then submit your revision. Also, reduced square footage or scope is usually a supplemental permit. So it's best, again, to just inquire if you're not sure before you actually submit, because you don't want to hold yourself up or again, stop an inspection from being scheduled because you just weren't sure. I think that's it for submittal, but again, while revisions aren't processed through our department, we can help you out with some things. So if you're in doubt, just give us a call or give us an email, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. And now plans exam. Here's Tarek.
Good afternoon. Plans exam will always require the following for review of revisions. A type narrative that has to be detailed to avoid correction requests. It has to describe changes made to every sheet that is being revised. A new cover sheet providing revised scope of work and any changed square footage, occupant loads, or occupancy classifications. You would have to detail what square footage is being added or reduced, changes clouded with deltas on revised plan sheets. Only submit sheets that are being revised. We don't need a full plan set every time you submit a revision. Please note that reduction in square footage will likely require a supplemental permit and will not work as a revision. Also note that mechanical, plumbing, electrical plans may not be added as a revision to a previously issued permit that did not include those disciplines. Please contact building corrections to add those disciplines that were never there. Contact building corrections at clarkcountynv.gov for information regarding adding those, as stated, where the original permit did not include those disciplines. And for any questions, please email building services at clarkcountynv.gov or call 702-455-8011. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarek. And now for zoning, here's Maria.
Thank you, Dana. Zoning supplemental permits. Zoning reviews the building permits, whether it is supplemental permits as determined and accepted by building department. Supplemental permits for accessory structures will require the approval of the principal structure. For example, a permit for a custom single-family residential is added to the already submitted accessory structures or buildings such as retaining wall, accessory dwelling unit, patio covers, pool and house, etc. Those are examples of accessory structures. Okay, zoning will review the single family residential and all accessory structures submitted for compliance with Title 30 in terms of setback, height, design, lot coverage, and separations if applicable. All other permits will not be issued until the review of the single family residential is completed and issued, because that is considered as the principal structure. Next. Next slide, okay. If the prior permittee had approved land use, The revisions or supplemental permits may require additional land use. Sometimes people, they add something and you find that there was an original land use. It may require you probably to go back to current planning to add some, or to talk to current planning for those additions or supplemental. So make sure you talk to your examiner to make sure that you are in compliance with that. Okay. And last is, if you have question, we are always here to help you. That is our main email, cpzoning@planscheck@county.nv.gov. We'll be happy to help you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
Now Carla will go over the structural slides.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Carla Palma with the Engineering Group. We perform structural, geotechnical, and ATS revisions and supplemental permits. That's part of some of our daily duties. So there's a big step that I like to enhance to all the people that is attending this webinar. You can make a lot of changes before that permit is issued, specifically for your structural and your geotechnical. If for some reason your scope has some of the minor changes that were included on the slide 5 that Dana mentioned, that works with us. Just make sure you keep an eye at what you have before that permit is issued. We can change many things and, overlap some plan sheets. If the permit has been issued, that's when we have a revision generated. Sometimes it even goes all the way through finish the plan review and is still in ready to issue status. You're welcome to contact the supervisor on permit issuance. She may be able to do something, but once your permit is issued, that's it. Now we need a revision for whatever you want to change on your project. Design professional is welcome to contact us for questions about issue comments. All our information, all our contact information is public information. Scope correction, removal or addition to scope, like I was mentioning before, many things can be done prior to permit issuance. Waiting for customer status. If for some reason you submitted corrections, make sure that the status on your ACA portal shows us waiting for customer. We have a lot of submittals where we get emails or calls from the customer saying, hey, I sent you this last week. What's going on? I don't have a status. And they forgot to hit the last submit step button on the ACA portal. So make sure you see the waiting for customer status on your ACA portal. And that means that the clock is sticking for us to review it. Something I like to tell all my customers is like, you usually have a due date on the Citizen Access portal. It shows you, let's say it's due, April 24. We all have a queue. I personally like to review everything that is due up to 3 or 4 days ahead of what is due today. And then around 3 in the afternoon, I like to take a look at my email, my phone calls, my texts, and see what people needs with urgency. And if we're able to accommodate your review timeline, we will do it depending on our queue and workload. Possible changes due to scope correction. So we will, if for some reason we see something that needs to be enhanced on your structural plans, for instance, one of the notes that I like to put there, if for some reason there's any type of installation of post-style anchors, that will trigger QA. QA inspections, like I was mentioning, post-install anchor is one of the most common. The first submittals, if for some reason you have any trusses, any stairs, any type of submittal that was deferred, it will create a condition in the system. And then the conditions of approval, like I was mentioning, final QAs for inspections, deferred submittals, and others that, permit issuance puts under your permit. Next, please. So what is a revision from the structural and geotechnical point of view? It's the update or the change of an approved document after the permit has been issued. Some field details, my footing is too short, I need to increment the size a little bit in order to connect to an existing grade beam. A notified request for information. When the plans were approved, there was not enough information on the plans. So now the inspector has to write an NCR, or the contractor brings it up to the engineer's attention, and then he has to create a new document that will have the missing information on the approved documents. NCR, one of the most common ones. I believe Stacy mentioned it on one of the slides, slide number 10. If for some reason you have an NCR that is related to the revision you're submitting, you're highly encouraged to put the name of the NCR as part of your revision. And please, from the structural and geotechnical point of view, attach that NCR. As a former QA inspector myself, there's nothing more frustrating than waiting for that RFI to be approved, and once it comes, it does not address the correct scope that I need to clear your NCR. Or inspectors in the field or QA inspectors in the field, they're always willing, they're trying to close those NCRs because those are just lagging your project. So having the NCR as an attachment to the revision helps a lot the plan reviewer identifying what is the inspector trying to close. Revised plans, locations change, things change. Work plans, missing inspections, we didn't call an inspector, that's gonna definitely require a work plan per TG50 Appendix C, and it's gonna be submitted as a revision. And then all the first submittals, they're all submitted as revisions, trusses, stairs, awning. In addition to that, the plan reviewer has to meet the condition every time they approve a revision for deferred submittals. What do I mean with this? For instance, you're doing a casita, your deferred submittal comes, you have a condition of approval for the deferred submittal. For any other thing, it will automatically meet the condition. For deferred submittals, it will not. So as the plan reviewer, it's our responsibility to meet the condition after we approve the revision of a deferred submittal. If for some reason any of us miss it, which unfortunately happens sometimes, we're human, please bring it to the attention of the plan reviewer ASAP. In that way, we are not holding your framing inspections. Next slide, please. So what is not a revision? And this is some of the most common documents that we get. We get concrete mix designs. We get final QA reports. We get grading reports, structural observations, and geotechnical observations. So we have another team within the engineering group, which is the quality assurance team, and they are the ones that review these documents. All of these documents have to be uploaded as an inspection document. These are inspections, they're not plan review. So these are some of the most common documents we get as revisions, but they are not. Next, please. So what do we expect to see on a revision? Well, definitely, we need it to be stamped by your design professional, either the geotechnical or the structural engineer. A narrative of that revision will truly help. When engineers bubble the areas that they're reviewing or using a red or a different color to address to us what they are trying to review, it truly increases the chances of your revision being reviewed faster. And that's the reason why we ask for this narrative as a cover letter. Anything giving us information about a structural change or geotechnical change, please upload it as a structural calculation. I know it doesn't make sense to you, but I won't see it. My peers in the geotechnical side won't see it unless you upload it as a geotechnical calculation or a geotechnical or a soils report, depending on who are you trying to address. So we need the narrative, we need the engineer electronic stamp. This is not a requirement from the building department. This is a requirement from the Nevada Board of Engineers. So we just comply with their guidelines, and the link has been shared on the slide as well. The first submittals, any shop drawing uses a design or drawing is still requiring an EOR stamp or review depending on the type of project. Revise structural plans, please cloud them or mark the changes that you're doing. And of course, please remember that on the revised documents, the engineer also needs to update his signature. So the day that comes with that updated digital signature has to be the most recent. The contractor cannot go on the engineer plans, change it himself, and submit it to us because that goes against the Nevada board requirements. Revise structural calculations. Revise calculations for the changes only. We have some calculations for certain projects that can be 1,000 pages or more. If you're gonna submit the same file, and you can tell me, hey, the only ones I'm changing are page 50 to 53, that's fine, that helps. But if you're gonna be submitting another 1,000-page file and you're expecting me to find it, it definitely will take time of plan review, which I believe when we charge you guys, we charge you per hour. And so just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. As Tarek was mentioning on his slides, just submit what is pertinent to the revision that you're trying us to take a look. Opinion letters will not suffice. Complete mathematical justifications are required. So we have a lot of engineers that submit just something that says, yeah, that new footing, increase size, that's fine. We are not gonna be reviewing and approving those type of documents. If the engineer in any way wants to change that design, he's gonna need to provide a justification for that change. And the justification needs to come on mathematical calculations, either by hand or a software. Next, please. The file type, one more time, as I was mentioning before, anything addressing structural comments or structural changes, please upload it as structural calculations. If for some reason you have a letter addressing structural, geotechnical, and mechanical, feel free to upload it twice. In that way, I can review the structural part for our site first. Do not use the documents for structural nor geotechnical revisions because we won't be able to see those documents. The engineer drawings shall be submitted as structural plans. I think all of you are familiar with that by now. And yeah, one more time, please do not use documents type for any structural or geotechnical submittal. Next, please. Supplemental permits. So basically for supplemental permits, this is something that was probably caught by our plan submittal team, or at the time you submitted the revision that became a supplemental later. If for some reason, one more time, we're human, that drastic scope change was not caught per slide 5 under some of the changes and revisions that Dana mentioned, or some of the changes that she mentioned as a scope revision, then the plan reviewer most likely will catch it. And if we catch it, what we're going to do is we're going to contact management and we're going to ask if this is still a revision or if this is a supplemental permit. If for some reason it's a supplemental permit, most likely we will issue a comment in the plan room. And if you see that type of comments on the plan room, either from the geotechnical side or from the structural side, you are welcome to contact us at any time. On the next slide, you're going to be able to see all our contact information. We have a main mailbox that is monitored by all our supervisors and managers. And then, or you directly can contact your plan reviewer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carla. And so e-revisions ready for payments and change of contractor. Here's Katie Bradley.
For e-revision ready for payment, first will be the plan review. Once all the departments have reviewed and approved the revisions, they will stamp the appropriate documents and complete the workflows. Then plan coordination will happen. The permit issue team will then process the plan coordination, confirm that all plans are properly stamped, and complete the fee workup. The status will be updated. The revision is then placed in e-revision ready for payment status, and you will receive a fee notification. When the revision status updates, an automated email is sent to the revision contact, informing them of the fee amount due. For the payment, the revision contact can pay the fees via their portal account, and access to the plans after the payment is processed. The permit automatically changes to revision approved status, and the plans are made accessible for viewing and printing. Please note that fees for revisions with additional scope of work are calculated on both hourly plan review and permit fees based on the increased valuation. Revision for change of contractor. Permit issuance will assist with determining if a revision is required to change the contractor on a permit. If required, the customer must submit revised plans prepared by the new contractor or design professional. These plans are submitted through the revision submittal process. When indicating the revision description, please state change of contractor so we can clearly understand the intent of the revision. When selecting the department that will review the revision, ensure that you check the applicable boxes for the plans that will be uploaded. For example, if you are uploading electrical and mechanical plans, check the electrical and mechanical boxes, and then you can see the pictures here. That's where you'll type change of contractor and the boxes you'll select. If you have any further questions, you can go ahead and reach out to our change of contractor team at changeofcontractor@clarkcountynv.gov. For plan coordination and permit issuance for all supplemental permits, supplemental permits are subject to the same conditions of approval as the original permit. Once all conditions are processed and fee workup is completed, the permit moves to ready to issue status, and you will receive an email with the final condition and fees due. For in-depth information, please see our Basics of Electronic Permitting workshop on our YouTube channel or contact ePlan issuance at clarkcountynv.gov. And then again, if you have any further questions on permit issuance, go ahead and contact us at ePlan issuance at clarkcountynv.gov.
Okay, now for fee workup for supplemental permits. Here's Troy.
Hi. Fee workup for supplemental permits. The fee workup for supplemental permit follows the same process as the fee workup for the original permit. For in-depth information, please see our Basics of Electronic Permitting workshop on our YouTube channel or contact CCBD permit fees at clarkcountynv.gov. For the additional scope, the construction valuation for a supplemental permit is based on the value of the additional work. For reduced scope, please do not provide us with the original construction valuation used to assess the permit fees on the original permit. The valuation to reduce the scope of work is determined by the cost associated with making the change, not the new construction valuation for the project. Hourly fees will be assessed based on the hours spent by plans examination to review the plans with a minimum $54 permit fee. For any fee workup related questions, please feel free to contact us at CCBD permit fees at clarkcountynv.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy. And now Matt will go over inspections.
Thanks, Dana. So the way the fee revisions affect inspections, they're going to create holds. They're going to maybe cause some disapprovals because unapproved revisions, they place holds and conditions on related inspections. And it's going to create a chain reaction that will block subsequent trades and inspections. So electrical revisions may, impact your mechanical trades. Gas revisions will affect your plumbing trades. So just all the way down the line. And always be aware that inspectors can only work and inspect from approved plans. So if you have a revision that's not quite approved yet, if it's waiting on approval or hasn't been submitted yet, then it is going to stop your inspections. It could be issued a stop work order. And if you install work and it doesn't match the revision when it comes back, then you might have to do some rework to fix those items. So just be wary of that. Okay, next slide, please. Some of the best practices to minimize these impacts to your inspections, plan ahead, anticipate potential changes during the design, submit the revisions promptly and completely as soon as possible, provide those clear narratives and mark up the plans, coordinate closely with the design professionals, and please don't install the work until the approval of the revision. I know plan revisions provide necessary flexibility, but they can significantly delay your inspections, can extend the project timelines, and increase costs if not managed proactively. So, there we go. Next slide, please. This is just kind of, I know it's been touched on. I just wanted to reiterate that, if you had an original permit, but you're adding something there, then that's not a revision, that's a supplemental permit. And if you do have a supplemental permit and original permit, then schedule inspections on both of those permits. They work in concert with each other. They live throughout the life of the project. Just because you have a supplemental permit, the original one doesn't go away. So make sure you get inspections and finals on both of those permits. Okay, next slide. And if you have any questions, you can contact us. This is, on our website, the area map that shows the supervisors and the inspection personnel assigned to the areas. And then we have our contact information on there. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call us. And I think that's it. Other than our website, our email address and our phone number. That's our field services counter. You can always call to schedule or ask questions of the field services staff. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. So that concludes our presentation today. We do have a disclaimer that states, this information is current at the time of the presentation, but our procedures are subject to change as we are dedicated to making improvements to our processes and improving our customer service. Please visit our website, clarkcountynv.gov/building, for up-to-date information on our programs. And then here's a list of some websites, and there's our YouTube channel. But now we'll go ahead and open it up for our question and answers. If all Clark County staff will please turn on their cameras.